So let's get started. It looks very urban, but it is not once we get going. So that's like the hardest part right there. So now we're on the Greenway, and pretty soon we'll be taking it. Halcyon is what it's called, the entry point. And so pretty soon here we'll be up in the woods, and it'll be a nice cool ride. It's a very warm day here in North Georgia. So get a little shade and it'll be better. Adjust my mirror here. There we go. All right, whoa. Low bridge, tree fell down. A couple of them it looks like. We've had some storms and some wet weather lately, so. And we will crank down everything so this will just be a leisurely ride. We won't be racing anybody. Parking lot was full, so a lot of people out this morning. You know, it's starting to get pretty warm. Okay. We're back into the shade. So the Forsyth portion of the Greenway starts at the end of the Alpharetta portion. And there's a break between the two, a couple thousand feet, I guess. So if you wanted to do the complete ride from Roswell to Cumming and back, which would be about 40 miles, you would have that break you'd have to deal with, where you basically will have to get on streets. I think it's Kimball Bridge maybe, and Ronald Reagan. And then once you get there, you'd be here and you could complete your ride. But typically I break it up. So boardwalks, places loaded with them. And if it's wet, they're pretty slick. Morning. This part of the Greenway, the very southern part of the Forsyth Loop, the boardwalks are pretty good. I mean, they're really good, like they're new. So I think this may actually be a newer section of the Greenway, because if you look at the information on the internet, it says something like 7.5 miles, but in fact, it's over 10 if you go from the Ronald Reagan entry point up to the end in Cumming. So I think that they have added to it, and they just haven't updated the website. Okay, ladies. On your left.
Yeah, we're pretty good.
Okay. On the phone. Not paying attention. Again, road bikers, they don't exactly always have a bell or announce where they are. And that's, you know, it's common courtesy on these multi-use paths that You just need to let people know if you're going to be running up behind them at 15, 20 miles an hour.
Destination
Right here, this is a problem. On your left. But get through it. Since I'm not on a race, it's no problem to slow down a little bit. So again, this trail follows Big Creek, which runs quite a ways from the North Georgia mountains down to, I guess, the Chattahoochee River, the tributary. And we're pretty far north in the suburbs right now. So it follows along Highway 400, which is a major thoroughfare, north-south thoroughfare in North Georgia. But again, it's a great flat, smooth path. So good for walking, biking. On your left. It's just there are quite a few boardwalks here, so, and they get worse. Right now they're pretty good, but the further up we go, the worse the boardwalks get. So you just gotta be aware of that. Morning. If you are gonna ride this and it's wet, you just need to, especially with skinny tires. On your left, you'll get a little slick. On your left, again, nobody hears me. They're either on their phone or listening to their iPods. So you just got to watch out because they can do unpredictable things. Again, using very little boost today since it's such a flat path. Have the bike's mechanical gears in 4th gear, so pretty easy pedaling. Ridges are usually where you get a little bit of a hill. They kind of go up and over the creek. Creek's down today. Occasionally, when they let water out of the river, on your left, this will, you can get some water crossings. It got so deep one time I came through here, somewhere's up in here, my pedals got in the water. So it's something to be aware of. If we've had a lot of rain, possibility that the creek could be up, and might be a number of crossings that are either thick mud or mud and water. It's nice and cool in here. It's another hot day in North Georgia. It's probably going to get into the mid-90s, which means you'll have a heat index into the hundreds. But it's 9:30-ish in the morning, and all these paths, like the Greenway Pass and Silver Comet even, are fairly well shaded, so keeps it cool for a while. On your left. Again, it's pretty flat, so if you mind your boost and the gear you're in, it's easy to stay well within the 15-mile-an-hour limit on the path here, which is what the posted speed limit is all up and down here. Lots of marshy area. A lot of flora and fauna. Places to go back up in the woods. And I think a lot of these paths, again, you're in the middle of a pretty highly populated suburban area, so a lot of apartments and subdivisions around here. You just don't notice it. It's very quiet and peaceful in the Greenway here. So the boardwalks are really nice in this lower portion of the Greenway, the Forsyth Loop. No problem at all. So here's a street crossing. Not too bad. And again, they're supposed to stop for you. I don't trust anybody, but fortunately, see what I tell you. Clearly, it says stop for anybody trying to cross, but that's why you have to stay on your toes. There's another Greenway access. There's a number of them up on this this part of the loop, the Forsyth Loop. There's actually another park up here. It's really nice. That has direct access to the Greenway. Dogs barking. On your left. Of course, the thing about riding on this boardwalk, if you don't pay attention and hit the railing, you got a problem. You're not just going to run off into the ditch. It's going to throw you into a tree. On your left. Fowler Park. It's a really nice park. Kind of far north out of Atlanta, even for the suburbs, but Forsyth County is growing a lot, so it's a really nice park. So if you live in North Atlanta on 400, it might be a good place to put in. You just have to go both ways instead of just a one-way there and back. So this sign says self-check speed zone by not exceeding 100 feet in 5 seconds. I don't know. I guess from sign to sign is 100 feet. Never can figure out how we're supposed to measure there. This part of the Greenway, so again, they've got these signs up that give you information on type of trees, type of plants, type of animals. So if you've got on your left, if you are interested in knowing what type of nature's in here, you've got signs that help you figure out what's going on. Pretty cool, actually, especially if you had kids. This is where the boardwalks start getting problematic a little bit. So as we hit this northern part of the loop, the boardwalks tend to get a little less nice. This is another street crossing. This one's a little bit more juicy because it's a pretty major street. So you gotta wait for the light, and doggone it, it changed just climbing up the hill here. Let's see what's gonna go on here. Yeah, I don't have the light, so let me stop here and hit the button and wait for the light to change. All right, looks like we might be getting a light here. Here we go. That's about the worst of it. Beautiful day. Goodness gracious, not a cloud in the sky. On your left. Again, hear the boards. they don't get any better. As we go further on. Fortunately, there's not quite as many of them as we go up north here. I think the wetlands are behind us. Here's a nice puddle. Sounds like the old Russelltown Bridge where I grew up. Morning. Oh boy. On your left. Kind of rough. On your left. See where they've been patching this section of boardwalk. Still pretty ragged. A lot of rotten boards. On your left. This is another one that can get wet. Another crossing under the street there by the creek. Can definitely get a little damp if we've had a lot of rain or Drainage isn't very good. On your left. Here's another one of those self-check speed zones. Of course, I have a speedometer, so pretty much know how fast I'm going all the time. Never thought I'd use this bell, but you know, in street rides you really don't, because nobody can hear it in the car. I put this on, which is a lot louder. Not that they pay attention, but on these paths, it's good to get people's attention that you're coming up behind them. Another swamp. Wetlands, I guess they would call it. I'm sure it's protected. The grass pollen is getting a lot of people, including me right now. Oh boy. Let's let this clear out a little bit before we try to cross. On your left. Thank you. On your left. I don't know if it's harder to pedal on these boardwalks, but it seems to be. A little bit. A little bit harder than on the, on your left. A little bit harder than on the Alpharetta leg, because it's smooth, flat, and concrete. On your left. Again, the boardwalk's not such great shape on this part of the greenway, at least in places. On your left. Now, we're about to get into a section of this part of the greenway that is not for the faint of heart or weak of leg. There's quite a number of big hills here. Morning. And so if you're not up for a good climb, and I mean like you ride the mountains, you might want to turn around here because it's about to get steep. Now on an e-bike, I mean, you still need to have a pretty good e-bike to do this, because this is the steepest one I've encountered, and they've stair-stepped it. So it's unusual coming down, especially. You know, you're coming down and you're hitting this flat spot. So you got to brake before you hit it, or else you're going to hit real hard, and you'll see. But it's a little bit of a challenge. So if you're not used to riding steep hills, then this probably is not for you. Get some experience on using your brakes and particularly on e-bike since they are so heavy. And then again, if you're on an analog bike, you I mean you need to be used to hills, pretty steep hills. So it's coming up here in a little bit, and you'll see what I mean. Morning.
David, good morning.
Morning.
All right, come on.
That dog only has 3 legs, and I see her out here all the time. So she's getting better. She used to be really uncomfortable with people, especially people on big bicycles, but she's a lot better now. So I guess he's rehabbing her from either an injury or a disease or something. So it's good to see her out. So the speed limit's dropped to 10 miles an hour. And now this is a new, so they've had to replace this boardwalk. It's a lot better. Okay, here we go, Mount Everest. Steep grade, and they ain't joking. So you gotta jack up your boost and come down on your gearing. And here we go. Again, they stair-stepped it so that, I guess for walkers, you get a little bit of spot to rest. But it is a good grade. Coming down, again, these stair steps aren't any favors to you. Look at that. It's almost straight up. So on an e-bike is no real problem. Well, it might be. So my e-bike puts down about 68 nanometers, no, sorry, Newton meters of torque. I weigh about 155 pounds, and I'm okay. But it's getting hard to push at the top here. And if you were on an analog bike, you'd have to be a hoss. I'm just saying. So that's, of course you gotta go down it coming back, which will tax your brakes. So like this hill right here, this is a significant grade, and with these stair steps you got to watch your brakes so that you hit it just right and not bottom out your suspension. There we go. Woo, what fun. Okay, regular hills you can handle, no problem. But that's a monster. Matter of fact, this whole area is very hilly. Very steep hilly. And here's another one. I mean, you can't really tell from the camera, I'm going almost straight down. You don't want to lose your brakes. You don't want to come flying off one of these corners either. So again, it's a little bit technical. You need to have some experience with hills, using your brakes on steep hills, because that's going to test you on an e-bike. on a regular bike too. Maybe not quite as much because there's not so much weight involved, but it's definitely something that it's a lot of fun if you are confident. But if you're not confident, I think it could be scary to the point where you could maybe make a mistake and hurt yourself. Coming through. Thank you. So this part of the trail pretty much follows the street here all the way to the end, which isn't too much further. But we'll go to the end so I can show you how disappointing it is. I don't know if they're gonna have plans to extend it into Cumming itself or not, but right now it just kind of stops. Why is she walking? On your right. I'm just out of the way, I don't care. These people that panic and step in front of you is where the problems come in. You know, a few subdivision crossings here you got to be careful of because again, people don't necessarily look out for you. So we've gone about 10 miles maybe, a little more. And we're just about to reach the end of the line here. Matter of fact, I think it's just up this hill. Sure nobody's coming. Again, just a regular hill, not a big deal. Those ones that we passed are a big deal, I'll tell you. All right, well, this is the end of the Forsyth loop of the Big Creek Trail. And like I said, it's a bit disappointing because it just stops. And well, you see how it ends here. So take a break and then we'll head back down.